This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. The state government has introduced special legislation to spark a fresh election for the embattled Glenorchy City Council. Questions are now being raised over the timing of the move as the Board of Inquiry report remains locked in a legal battle.
Less than 24 hours after an audit revealed serious concerns about the operation of the Glenorchy City Council, the local government minister says it's time to end the uncertainty.
This has gone on now for 2 years with the Board of Inquiry. The current councillors have been suspended since earlier this year. That community needs certainty.
Yesterday's report uncovered breaches by the council on its contract dealings with an interstate company. It's been a quick turnaround for the minister producing legislation to spark fresh elections for the council in January.
It is very surprising to see an Auditor-General's report come down one day and then see fully formed legislation tabled into Parliament the next.
It's a little bit hard to escape the conclusion that this is a political move designed potentially to take the former Mayor of Glenorchy, Christy Johnson, out of the race for Denison.
Speculation rising on a strategic attempt to occupy the Mayor, who was considering a state election tilt, with the Board of Inquiry report remaining locked in a legal battle.
There are huge problems with governance in Glenorchy City Council. We know that, but we do not know what are the results of the Board of Inquiry report. So it's extraordinarily preemptive.
The Mayor not buying into the speculation as she looks to be re-elected come January.
The Board of Inquiry has been going on now for 2 years. That's 2 years too long. We need a resolution, and the Minister has today announced a possible resolution to that.
It's unlikely the inquiry report will be released before Glenorchy goes to the polls, the new legislation not influencing a Supreme Court appeal next week.
Further appeal could be made. The likelihood is that the government may not receive that Board of Inquiry report until sometime in 2018.
The community need to have the opportunity to see the Board of Inquiry report, as I say, so they can see very clearly for themselves which aldermen have done the right thing and which aldermen have done the wrong thing.
The local government department is considering its options on yesterday's audit. Any change to the workings of the council, including the general manager, will be made by the current commissioner or a new council. Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
The bushfire season is well and truly underway tonight. As we go to air, the fire service is working on several blazes in the east and southern parts of the state. We cross live now to our reporter Louise Hedger from the Queen's Domain. Good evening, Louise. Can you give us a bit of an overview of what conditions are like?
Well, Joe, parts of the state have seen temperatures rise to at least 30 degrees today. That includes parts of the east coast and here in Hobart. Currently, the temperature has dropped slightly. We're sitting at about 28 degrees. Let's turn to the fire situation now. There are currently 2 major fires at advice level across the state. One to the west of St Helens is currently burning out of control, and another between Kingston and Hobart, which is still burning but is listed as under control. Let's see how the day unfolded. This blaze has been burning just outside of Hobart for 4 days now. Its flames have continued to consume. Yesterday it was spread across 44 hectares, but it's now covering 226 hectares.
Trying to control the fire in this terrain is quite significant. We have had to burn this fire out to safe edges so we can ensure that that containment line is maintained at all times.
It's travelling quickly across the parched land, which has had a low amount of rainfall over spring and winter. 6 crews have been controlling the blaze, with patrols scheduled to carry on into the evening.
We'll be here patrolling the fire for some weeks to come. Whether we're actively firefighting or just patrolling, it will be a long duration fire.
The Tasmania Fire Service says at this stage there is no direct threat to properties, but there is always a risk of weather conditions changing, so residents are urged to stay vigilant. This message applies to other areas too, with many parts of the state at a level of high fire danger.
We're not out of the woods today yet. We've still got some warm weather and a warm evening is still expected.
As we go to air tonight, there are over 20 fires blazing in parts of the state.
The fire season's definitely here. We've seen fire activity that is greater than what we would have expected.
The fire service says a large bushfire burning to the west of St Helens isn't threatening communities, but it is a concern.
Our concern for that one behind St Helens is that it is burning in really heavy fuels. It's in hard to get to country, it's quite rugged country, and we really do need to get a hold of it.
The Weather Bureau is keeping a close eye on changing conditions, providing hourly updates to peak fire organisations.
It allows them to plan in advance so they can position resources in certain areas ahead of big fire days, and also when bushfires are burning we provide them with very detailed specific forecasts for the fire itself.
Tasmanians are asked to not start any fuel reduction burns over the next 24 hours. Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
Police and SES crews have continued the search for a missing Launceston man. 66-year-old Bruce Fairfax was last seen on the Duckhole Lake track in Tasmania's far south on Saturday. Police say they've been using smaller scale specialist resources today as the search moved into a different phase. The High Court has declared parts of Tasmania's anti-protest laws unconstitutional and therefore invalid. The state government says the laws were needed to protect workers and businesses and is now poring through the court's detailed findings. The opposition says it's an embarrassment.
This incident in northwest Tasmania in 2016 would go on to spark a High Court challenge. Bob Brown was arrested and charged here under the government's anti-protest laws, but the use of that legislation in this case now ruled invalid.
The High Court has recognised peaceful environmental protest as having a role to play, and an important role to play, in democracy.
Jessica Hoyt was also charged under the laws, but those charges were dropped as the pair launched a High Court challenge, and today, vindication.
We stood up for what was right, and nobody should be arrested for peacefully protesting and for what they believe in.
In a majority decision, the High Court found Tasmania's anti-protest laws burdened freedom of political communication, despite having a legitimate purpose of protecting businesses. The Premier was questioned on the court's ruling in Parliament.
What is your response to this embarrassing slapdown of your draconian law, which stands condemned by the highest court in the land?
We had a very strong position, and that was to stop extremist protesters from invading workplaces and denying people to earn a lawful living.
So it appears to be a massive embarrassment for the Hodgman government. It looks like they haven't done the proper work, haven't got the proper legal advice when they put their legislation together. Authorities say they're looking through the 183-page findings.
We'll look at it and we'll make recommendations and contribute to any amendments that need to be made appropriately for operational compliance with those laws.
We will of course take the time to appropriately consider the decision of the High Court and what further actions we might appropriately take to protect and stand up for Tasmanian workers.
The state government has been ordered to pay legal costs. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Police are preparing for an influx of bikies heading to Tasmania for national runs. Around 350 Rebels bikies are expected in the state over the next couple of days. Police say they'll arrive in Devonport and ride down the east coast to Hobart.
We've got plans in place. We're working with them to ensure that the public are safe and that they're safe. We have had issues where members of outlaw motorcycle gangs in the past have injured themselves on our roads, and whilst they're criminals, we actually don't want that to occur either.
The Bandidos have a ride scheduled for late November. The state government remains cautious of the federal government's move to scrap a clean energy target. Energy Minister Guy Barnett telling Parliament it's not yet clear what the policy change will mean for renewable investment in Tasmania.
Let me make it very clear, we will work cooperatively. Of course, going forward, we remain to be convinced, but let me make it very clear, Tasmanians come first.
It appears that we've got an Energy Minister in Tasmania who doesn't even know whether or not he does support a clean energy target for the nation. It's not good enough for the Liberal Party here in Tasmania not to stand up to Tony Abbott and the other dinosaurs in Canberra when it comes to energy policy.
Minister Barnett says further detail is needed before forming a position. Tasmanians have sipped, sampled and voted, but the state has missed out on having the best tap water in the country. Instead, a Queensland water provider claimed the honour at today's National Taste Test in Launceston.
Taking a sip of some of the country's best tap water, winning samples from 5 states put on display and critiqued by the Launceston community.
Today we've brought the National Water Taste Test to Launceston. Tassie won it last year, so it's a bit of a Eurovision. We're bringing it, you win it, you get to host it.
Tasmania's selected sample this year was from Fenton, a plant that supplies water from Lake Fenton to parts of Hobart. Not knowing where each sample was from, the public had to let their eyes, nose and taste buds do the judging.
The others seem to have a bit of a sort of a taste to them, but number 2 seemed to be just water.
Which one was your favourite?
Number 1.
And why is that?
It was just the most natural. It was like drinking out of a spring.
Number 3.
And why is that?
The rest of them kind of taste a bit bleachy, and I can pick up on that a lot, and I'm allergic to the bleach.
And it seems many agreed. Sample number 3 from Toowoomba was declared the nation's best tap water.
It's great recognition for all the staff that work in the treatment plant.
So is there anything special that you guys do to the water up there to make it taste so good?
If we do, we couldn't tell you. Maybe it's the air.
The national winner will now contest the international competition in the USA.
It really is about raising awareness of the industry. It's a very hidden industry, so for us it's a celebration of the operators and the water businesses themselves who are providing safe drinking water to their communities.
Monika Dadson, Southern Cross News.
A man has been caught drink driving while riding his lawnmower. Police say he was already on the gas when he decided to ride to his local service station to fill up. He returned a reading of 0.143.
When you're intoxicated and in the early hours of the morning, it's not always, and people don't always think about the legislation, they just think about having fun, and unfortunately in this occasion he'll front the court.
The man has been charged with being intoxicated while driving a motor vehicle and driving an uninsured and unregistered vehicle. It's a good thing he cooperated with police. It doesn't look like he could have put up much of a chase. An inspirational 11-year-old living with cerebral palsy is on a mission to set an example for other people with disabilities. Jack Duffy will attempt to walk alone for the first time during the Queen's Baton Relay ahead of the 2018 Commonwealth Games.
Wheelchair bound but determined to push through, 11-year-old Jack Duffy will attempt to walk alone for the first time during the Queen's Baton Relay.
Jack's got a walking frame that he's been working in for a good couple of years now and progressing slowly. He's never covered more than 100 metres or so, we want him to try and cover that, I think it's a couple of 100 metres or so by himself.
Jack is one of many chosen to carry the baton when it arrives to Launceston in February 2018 ahead of the Commonwealth Games. He lives with cerebral palsy, which means he can't walk, talk or eat on his own.
With Jack's leg strength and his coordination, it's a big challenge, really big challenge. So for him to be able to walk a couple of 100 metres just with that walking frame, that's an obstacle in itself.
His dad says the attempt aims to set an example for people with disabilities. He will be joined by a number of other inspirational Tasmanians recognised for their work in the community.
It's a moment. It'll be one of those moments in time that I can look back on with my grandchildren, with my community.
I make teddy bears and toys for kids in hospital and send them all around the world to different hospitals and different people.
I'm just absolutely chuffed. I'm so honoured. I feel very privileged to be here.
These are people in our community that have worked so hard, and for them to have that recognition, I think is fantastic.
The torch will embark on a 100-day journey throughout the country where thousands will carry the baton. Rita Risk, Southern Cross News.
Tasmania is known for its good quality wine, and now our cool climate is also helping produce some of the best extra virgin olive oil in the country. 3 Tasmanian growers brought home gold from the recent Australian International Olive Awards, and now some in the industry are preparing to expand.
For more than a decade, Alan and Barbara Baird have grown and harvested olives, but until now they've never won a gold award.
it's fantastic. It's very gratifying, really, because we've been working at this for about 12 years and we've won bronze and silver in the past, but this is our first gold.
Yeah, it comes as a nice surprise, really.
The couple fell in love with olive groves while living in Slovenia.
Alan had always wanted to grow trees all of his life, so when we came back to Australia, we thought, let's grow olives. Why not?
The Bairds are only hobby growers, but following the awards can now claim they have the best extra virgin olive oil in Tasmania. About 10 minutes up the road near Exeter, Martin and Sophie Grace are also still celebrating after winning gold with their lemon agrumato oil.
It's only our second harvest this year, so that's a fantastic achievement, I think.
The Graces bought Lantara Grove off the Henning family. As well as making oil, the husband and wife team also make skincare products, and they're currently working to expand their olive oil range.
We're planting out some different varieties in the coming months. Verdale, a French variety, which is very interesting and very complex flavour profile, and also Hodgie Blanca, which is a Spanish variety.
Cradle Coast Olives near Ulverston was the third Tasmanian grower to win a gold award. Our state also brought home 8 silver and 9 bronze medals, and those in the industry say they're eager to keep improving their product. Growers are now pruning their groves ready for trees to start flowering ahead of next June's harvest.
It's not a big industry. It's mostly small growers, but high quality oil.
And because it's cool in Tassie, so it's sort of slow growing, so that adds extra oomph to the oil.
All the growers in Tassie are doing a wonderful job every year and consistently are getting the highest awards as well in Australia. So it goes to show there's something that we're doing right here.
Monica Dadson at Southern Cross News.
A Tasmanian on a personal mission to help eradicate cardiovascular disease is now a step closer. Henry West awarded the Rhodes Scholarship, allowing him to conduct world-leading research on anatomic scanning at Oxford University.
We're going to be looking at what we call functional CT, which is a brand new kind of CT, which has never been seen in the world before, and it's recently been patented over at Oxford. And we're going to be applying that into clinical trials to find out whether this form of imaging can have a big impact on medicine.
Chloe Meyer and Aaron Moss have also been nominated to be considered for Australia's Rhodes Scholarship. Now a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The share market has ended the day relatively steady after pulling back from earlier strong gains. The ASX 200 index has risen by just under 1 point. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 78.47 US cents and 109.65 New Zealand cents.
A young Tasmanian footballer will soon realise her AFLW dream. Daria Bannister is set to join the Western Bulldogs after a standout State League season. The talented small forward and inside midfielder was selected by the club at pick 19 in today's draft, much to her surprise and excitement.
It's the moment most aspiring footballers can only dream of.
With pick number 19, the Western Bulldogs Football Club select Daria Bannister from Launceston.
Very excited and overwhelmed. I couldn't believe it, to be honest. It's a bit surreal now. It was a big build-up, but now it's all happening and I can't wait for it.
After starring for Tasmania and helping Launceston claim the State League flag, the versatile 18-year-old was justly rewarded, set to join the Western Bulldogs for the second edition of the AFLW competition in February next year.
Yeah, I think any girl that gets drafted would be stoked with any club she goes to. It's a real honour to be a part of the Doggies, and especially because I got to train with them earlier this year.
Bannister is now the 5th Tasmanian to make it onto the AFLW list after fellow hopefuls Georgia Hill, Courtney Webb and Loveth Ochai missed out today. They'll still have a chance to be picked up in Friday's rookie draft, but AFL Tasmania's Lee Elder, who's followed Bannister's progress closely, says she deserves every bit of success coming her way.
She can make a physical impact. She's got magnificent skills. She will kick a bag in AFLW, there's no doubt about that.
Bannister will move over to Melbourne in November to begin pre-season.
I think I might just go out for tea tonight with a few friends and family, celebrate it nice and quiet. I don't really like to brag too much or get all the attention.
Tom Cooper, Southern Cross News.
Tigers skipper George Bailey has blamed inconsistency following another disappointing one-day cup loss, this time on home turf. The side will now be forced to watch the final series at Blunston Arena from the sidelines, but hope to be right in the mix come the Sheffield Shield.
It's been the story of their one-day cup campaign, showing shades of a side that can match it with the best of them, but coming up well short when it counts.
I think the frustrating thing is that gap between your best and your worst performance. I think that's all you really want is consistency.
Chasing 339 on home soil last night, Ben Dunk once again epitomised that inconsistency, falling for a duck in the first over. The addition of Tim Payne failed to have the desired effect, with the opener lasting 12 balls. Just as Alex Doolan began to fire, Michael Nesser sent in one of the balls of the day. Matthew Wade and George Bailey once again proved the potential saving graces before a bizarre brain fade from Wade brought him undone on 38. Bailey's hopes of another national call-up were given a boost when he added another domestic half-ton to the list. But when he crumbled on 62, so did the Tigers' slim hopes of victory. Cam Boyce, the only of the lower order that showed resistance to the Queensland attack, as the Bulls cruised home the 83-run winners.
In terms of our one-day cricket, I think we've, when we have struggled, we've lost wickets at the top of our batting innings, and we haven't been able to take wickets with the ball. And you look around the teams that are doing well, that's a pretty simple blueprint for one-day cricket.
Tom Cooper, Southern Cross News.
The Hobart Hurricanes lists are taking shape, with the club announcing its two latest signings. Sam Rainbird has recommitted to the club for its upcoming BBL 7 campaign, and the Tasmanian paceman says he's keen to make more of an impact this time around, having only played one game for the Canes last season.
I am a Hobart boy and I've always wanted to play for the Hurricanes, and hopefully I can continue to play for the Hurricanes as long as I can.
Meanwhile, the women's hopes of another successful WBBL season have been boosted by the inclusion of hard-hitting Indian player Veera Krishnamurthy.
We're really excited about having Veda come along. She's a big-hitting sort of middle-order batsman and bowls a little bit as well. I've had a chat to her, and she doesn't get a lot of bowling opportunities in the Indian team, so she's really keen to try it out over here.
The club has also secured Tasmanian aquaculture company Tassal as a major sponsor for the next 2 years. Well, Tasmanian cyclist Richie Port has confirmed he will return to racing this Saturday. The 32-year-old was back in the state training this week ahead of the weekend's Japan Cup Cycle Road Race. It will be Port's first time competitively racing since crashing out of the Tour de France back in July. Port says he has no expectations going into the race, but is just happy to be competing again this year before turning his focus to the 2018 season.
Good evening. Well, what a day today. Hobart 32 degrees, Launceston 29, Burnie 20 and Devonport 21. Campania continues its reputation as a spring hotspot with our high of 33 degrees. Strawn bathed in 32 today, Fingal 31, Grove 30, Bushy Park 29. King Island reached 28 degrees while Flinders sat on 25. Cooler by comparison in the east, St Helens 23 and Friendly Beaches 21. A northwest cloud band stretches from Tasmania to over central Australia. Middle level cloud is over the northeast of the nation, and off the coast a cold front is bringing cloud and cooler weather to southwest WA. Some high level cloud over the state today, that's streamed in from the northwest. Tomorrow a front crosses the state as a trough extends through to South Australia over to the northwest, and another front moves over the bight. The winds north-northwesterly at 15 to 25 knots, a shift to the west during the afternoon and evening, reaching 30 knots over the north, south and west later. Strong wind warning from Stanley to Eddystone Point, and also from Southeast Cape to Sandy Cape. After 32 today, turn those numbers around. 23 tomorrow with a shower, Hobart. 22 for Cygnet and a shower 2 for New Norfolk and 23 degrees. Launceston, showers clearing, 21, 19 the top for Devonport and 21 for Campbelltown. Burnie, a shower or 2 clearing, 19 the high, 19 for Strawn and Smithton, 18 degrees with a shower or 2. Showers clearing from St Helens, 22, 24 for Swansea, Fingal 23 degrees. UV high, but very high over the north and east. On Friday, fine apart from morning showers over the west and far south. Similar weather to kick off the weekend, although the showers more persistent over the west. And on Sunday, another shower over the west and far south, otherwise fine. Mostly sunny in Perth, Sydney and Alice Springs tomorrow, an early shower for Adelaide, a possible storm for Melbourne, 25 the top there, and a shower for Brisbane. And it's a little bit cloudy in Hobart. It's cooled right down to 28 degrees. Partly clear in Launceston, and partly cloudy. 2 lots. And clear in Devonport, a top of 17 degrees at the moment. Joe, I've lost it. I'm heading home. I've had enough. Oh, yeah.
It's only Wednesday, darling. You'll be right. Thank you, Murph. That's all from the news team for now. We'll see you a bit later with updates. Bye-bye.